topic of this climate change and sustainable development, and I'm Dr. Kumar Nayak. In this class, we will discuss different stakeholder engagement, different SDGs reports, what are the progress, and what are the policies that can be made in order to take the action on climate change and sustainable development, and in order to implement sustainable development. All these things we cover in this class. So, welcome again. And here will discuss the role of the various stakeholder in the building partnership, the climate change, the sustainable development, and the reports, the action reports are also discussed here. Also the different policies which are being made, that is also discussed. So first discussing about the global sustainable development report, that is SDG report 2023. Recent year we have the UN in general Assembly of UN 1923 September 2023 they held a annual report, what is the progress made up by the SDG, the action what can be taken, what already have been done. This can be discussed in this meeting. Actually, these sustainable development goals, they are coming forth from 2015. So 2015 to 2023, what is the progress? Let's discuss it. So first is the evidence-based SDG summit. It is evidence-based SDG summit that held in 4 years. Every 4 years it can be held, and here whatever may be the goal that may be already implemented, they have gathered all evidence and then analysis what is the impact of this goal, how much it can be progressed. So every 4 years it can be there is summit, that is for global sustainable development summit, and that is held here in 2023 recently. So the main motive of this assembly, or the motive of this summit or conference, is to strengthen the science policy interface. Whenever we are using or you are implementing something, that is you have to need to implementing something that we have to need to strengthen, because of technology and development is a continuous processes, and sustainable development is a continuous processes. So in between we are going to add on some technological interface, some scientific interface, or some policy interface. All are needed to check or to monitoring or to auditing what is the process. This is also assessment of assessment. That means whatever we are previously done by these assessment processes, then again we get to reassessment it and find out the confusion. So it's also extensive input, including regional consultants in South America, Southwest Asia, Africa, Western Africa. That means the developing country or the already developed country, they have different role and responsibility for their different types of action or different type of SDGs. So we have to measure what is the role and what the role can deliver and how much it can be delivered. So it is all the analysis can be done in this summit. So draft deliver also members and recently. So in the 2023, so many countries they are taking parts deliver a draft. Among these 15 members also looking different feedback for that. That means we are progressing in sustainable development goals effectively. This can be represented, or this can be evaluated in this summit. This is a summit that wanted to keep a focus on integrated perspective of SDG to avoid trade-off at international level. What is trade-off? Trade-off is a concept where there is both case we have profit and both we have loss. That means trade means for buying and selling. Like that, whenever we are going to analysis or we are going to implement something, it has both consequences, positive consequences and negative consequences. If then it is called trade-off. And what is the importance of trade-off? It is very much important to look what is the percentage of positive outcome and what is the negative outcome. If the positive outcome is more than the negative outcome, then we should adopt. Like similar in case of EIA, when we are installing or your project, when we are starting a project, we have did EIA, that is environmental impact assessment. Like that, trade-off we also having both positive and negative signs. So this theory also changes that could be a certain restriction of key suggestions. If somewhere it is lacking, then we can accelerated these things by implementing new policies or a new or making a correction on that. So this is the main focus of this summit 2023, and this is a very huge success. We are promoting, we are succeeding in our goals in a good way. So this is a sense of urgency and sense of hope. So that is, we are hoping that up to 2030, all sustainable development goals will be achieved. But this is not so simple. So we are monitoring, we are auditing what is the progress, what need to be changes that can be occurred, and what is the key role of the all international or national agencies or country all over the world. So this is very much important. So in this summit, they are all analysis of that, and they have found a suitable method or suitable corrections that can be also implemented in order to accelerate to our achieving the goal of this FTP. So the Global Sustainable Development Draft Report actually describes there are five chapters are there in this report. So according to these chapters, we are divided or we are divided the progress, how it is can be accelerated, all these things. So chapter 1, that is halfway to 2030, that we are now a halfway, because 2015 to 2030 it is 15 years of there, but in 2023 now it is 8 or 7 years already passed. So we are halfway. So is the progress is 50% accelerating, or what is the progress? So that should be discussed in these chapters. And second is harming the future. So in next 5 years or next 7 years, what should be done and how the future can be, it changes in a sustainable way, or how we are utilizing our resources in the future, what are the new technologies to be developed. All these things are discussed in this chapter. Then third is accelerating transformation to SDG. So these sustainable development goals, how we can accelerate this goal to achieve the vision and mission of this goal, so that can be accelerated. All these things are discussed in this chapter. Next is transformation through science. Obviously, without science and technology, it is not possible. So lots of projects, lots of funds are allocated for the technology, development of technology, research and development section. And is there actually this research and development position are implemented? Is the money they're spending that are enough to or not to achieving the goals? We should this perspectives we can are discussed in chapter number 4, because without science or technology, no development occurs. So simultaneously, this development and sustainable development both are needed, because this is the key role where we can secure our future generation. So step 5 is call of action. That means if there is any actions necessary in order to changes anything or in order to achieve the goal, then what should be the action can be taken? That detailing of these things they can be based in chapter 5. So let's look one by one. So chapter 1, here we can see it is a halfway of progress towards the sustainable development. That means we are evaluating the progress since 2015 year. I have already told that 2015 and 2019 of all this study, how much this type of we are progressing, because after 4 years we have a meeting. So in 2015 this is first meeting to develop the SDG. After that 2019 they have a second meeting, and in 2023 they have a third meeting. So they have analyzed all the progress. What is the progress that till 2015 to 19 and again 19 to 20? So focusing on this, all these directions of the, see here the progress wheel of the SDG 17. So here the directions and the colors they show how much they can be progress in each direction, and how much progress that can be made by the whole country. And this is called progress chart, and this showing the progress of the different sustainable development goals in all three directions. So reverse progress also several goals, because some goals that are having progress so much and some goals that are not progressing well. So we can see that still negative trend on environment and equality in lesser goals. So sometimes the goals having a negative impact on development, because if you are going to development, focusing on development, then obviously we have to pay the cost of for environment. So that should not be done. But we are sometimes we are not having significant progress on this side, because there are so many restrictions are there, and the country should must be developed to cope with the higher or developed country. So somehow this country, this trend or this action that may not be progress well. So there is also still negative trend. That means we are not advancing on this trend. So, because due to some constraint that happened, like in 2020, we have faces COVID-19 constraint. This due to the constraint, we cannot force, cannot accelerate this thing so much. Here, see that goal number one, that is progress here, and there are different types of charting are there. One is very firm for the target, two inside the circle, two is the far from the target, and three is moderate, and four is the closer to target, and five is the target mid, and then goal and target. So see this red zone that are very far from the target. So all are in red zone. Red zone is completed. Then second is called far from target, that is orange color, and almost all orange color also completed. But there are two things that are not completed: goal number 8 and goal number 14 or 13. Because this is the important goal that cannot be many constraints. So it not be a place or not be taken in a single day or single year. So it has to be take long time to complete this goal. We have to achieve this goal. And the yellow zone is the zone that is moderate distance to the target. That means it is the halfway to the achieving the goal. So almost most are having yellow zone, but some are not having yellow zone. And the green zone, that is called close to target, and some goal number like goal number 12, goal number 10, goal number 9, goal number 3, these are also very close to this target, and these are accelerating these targets, these goals, and very significantly. We are achieving this target, achieving these goals significantly. So now it is 8 years past, and we are not achieving very much things. Slowly we can achieve this. So most of these are rise in the yellow zone, that is moderate distance to target. So after 30, we should progress, and what should be lacking in these things, that all are discussed in this chapter number 1. Number 2 is the farming of the future, that is simple loan that both prepare for the safe and future, that is 2020 and beyond. Because we are targeting this sustainable development goal 2030, but 2030 these goals are not to be stopped. So beyond, we have seen different agenda, different sustainable future after 2030 also. So here we should prepare a blueprint prepared for the baseline for after 2030 also. Because of 2030 we have targeted 6. Then what happens after 2030? So we have to set a different goals, different prepare for a or a baseline for the future generation, that is after 2013, 2015, 2019, 2020, 50, 2080, like that. So planning of this medium term trend also is particularly affected sustainable development goal practices and practices, because planning something and achieving the goal is not easy. So there are so many constraints are there. So where you can progress very slowly. For example, a warming climate or global warming, that reduces and damage also low carbon opportunity. That means whenever we are working on the climate change and working the global warming, so this can destroy the low carbon opportunity. That means low carbon means if you are not emitting so carbon or reducing the carbon, that is a low carbon opportunity. But global warming itself can be a constraint that it can also accelerate the carbon footprint or the carbon emission. So this is very much this is a things that can be opposite to our future perspective. So in order to get rid of that, we have to make a certain plan. We have to make different types of strategy that can be implemented. So next is losses in nature and biodiversity, putting 50% GDP in area. When we are talking about the development part, so growth of the GDP is at risk when we are nature are losing diversity because climate change or due to the any anthropogenical activity, we losses the different ecosystem, different nature. So this also indirectly impact the GDP of the country. That reduces 50% GDP. The third thing is digital transformation. Net effect that sustainable development. So we are now in a digital era. Everything are going to be digital. So is the digital? There's a question. Is the digital that can be hampers the sustainable development? Yes or no? Yes. Both case we have both answers because we are in trade off. Actually, some persons are going to be yes and some are going to be say no because digital transformation is very much necessary for a development as well as it is also can hamper in a certain way to the environment. So it is what is necessary that we have to merge on without taking anything. So digital transformation is very much also important for the development of the sustainable development. And next is demographic changes, altering the workforce and consumption patterns. All the things are listed here because whenever we are changing the demography or the locations or the territory or the geographical area, then what happens also affects the ability and affects the targets. So there are some constant, there are constant, and what are the effect, how we can be combat to that. All things are listed in chapter 2. So then growing economic inequalities, increasing social tension, these are nowadays going on. So in spite of this, we have to achieve the goal. Economic equality. Some countries are very rich, some countries are very poor. Even they do not have to money to eat proper food and drink. So what happens? The inequality cannot be achieved, cannot be achieve the goal. It is a constant. So increasing the social tension. Nowadays the wars is going on, conflicts is going on between different countries. So this is the constant and how we can tackle this constant and what are the past that we have that can be uh, done and what can be future in what way we can be overcome this constant. All the details are mentioned in this chapter 2. Chapter 3 is mapping or the SDD transformation. That accelerating a transformation to SDD, that is we can strategically enable SDD solution, sustainable goal solution to move from the emergence to acceleration, stabilization or tracing S curve. Here see the red line is the decline of the dominant or unsustainable system and green is the rise of the sustainable system. So there are three zones are there: destabilization zone, then breakdown zone, then phase out. So where where we are now, that is the most important. So the destabilization zone is not a certainty zone, it is up and down zone. And then after that we are matching or making some benchmark work, and then next is called breakdown zone, and next is called phase out zone. This is for the decline of the dominant on sustainable system. So we have to, that is opposite to this rise of sustainable system, that is emergent zones, acceleration zones and stabilization zones. Firstly we have to trial and error methods to test all these methods that we have to plan or set up to achieve the goals. Second is the acceleration methods, and if this benchmark system is done, then we are focusing on this benchmark or focusing on this target and suddenly accelerate the growth, sustainable development, and then phase out system in the stabilization system. The, the sustainable development that becomes steady and continuously you have to maintain this sustainable development to the future. That's our target. So this is very much clearly seen that there are three phases are there, and in these phases there are three difference are also seen. When there is a stabilization zone to break down the point is called tipping point. That means at that point we are accelerated the sustainable development because we have to stabilize. So now we are in a stabilization zone, so we can move to acceleration zone But there is earlier we already discussed so many constraints are there. So moving to accelerated zone and to be in stabilization zone is very much difficult. And although we should achieve in some cases, but we have to maintain our strategy, maintain different points of the objectives that we should be working out. And in spite of the all conflicts, we have to work as a whole nation, the whole country. Then we can progress in this way. In chapter 4, that is transformation through science. Science lies the heart of the sustainable development. Because without science, we cannot move or develop. But also science is the key role, but sometimes it's having a trade-off zone because of the different types of experiment, different like COVID-19 era. It also due to the science and technology, we can also come back to these things. So, but we are know a little already. How can society include scientists speak more conveniently to the government to inspire bold decision to use the power of the science and technology as an effective lever for static, accelerating, and stabilizing classroom. So government also provide funding, and they have the freedom to speak to the government, the scientists. They have to raise his voice, raise freely, or they have freedom to speak something that should be in favor of sustainable development. And this is very much necessary in order to achieve sustainable development, become to moving a selecting inclusion to stabilizing on the life stage last step. So technology, with the help of science and technology, we can accelerate the development, sustainable development, and to in a better way. So this is very much necessary to invest in science and technology in order to check the pollution as well as in order to moving or in order to achieve our target. So many developing countries are providing this type of different types of project, and also India is also progressing. In this case, there are different IITs, different institutional organizations. They have, I mean, scientific organizations. They are continuously working to develop different technology that can be help the sustainable development. Chapter 5, that is call of action in 5 themes. What are the things? Establishing of this SD transformation framework for accelerated action in 2024. For immediate selected what should be done, because we are in stabilization phase, then we have to go acceleration phase. What action to be needed? That are mentioned in this chapter, and how to build capacity of state to own non-stakeholder. That means all states, all nations are not able to capable to move along with all developing countries. So how to build this capacity of the state? It is very much important. So this development country are helping by different methods, by funding or by financing system. We already discussed in last class. So this is very much necessary. And how it can be converted into non-capacity building to non-stakeholder to a full capacity stakeholder to enable all these development goals that is can effectively we are progressing. So these are the different points we have to mention in this chapter. So how to use levers and the integrated way to overcome impedance along S curve. So this previous slide we have seen the curve should be S. That means there are three phases are there. So in stabilization phase and then accelerating phase and all these phase. So first second, whenever each curve is S set, how it is moving smoothly or it is cost separate or not, we can discuss here. Then identifying investors for each entry point that will be capitalized on SGDs, synergies, and minimize trade-off and spillovers. So spillovers and trade-offs that are having negative impact are very much uh, they are mainly constant of the sustainable development goal. So here this identify the inventions, which inventions can be work out for the different point or different spillover and minimize the trade over. That is very much important. So in this chapter we are going to they are describing or they are discussing on this thing. Then next point, identify the measure to accelerate the implementation. So all measures that should be small or large, we have to identify and we have to implement. So all these things are going to be in this chapter 5. So overall, in chapter 1 to 5, in 2020 summit, we are seeing that the progress as well as how to progress further. So these details are can be very much necessary to analyze in order to progress in our next next. Next, move to get sector, that is inclusive approaches to awareness raising and engaging stakeholder. So in this year, we are also developing all the strategies and including all the countries and including all the stakeholder also. So what are the steps for the inclusive approaches that we have to see here? So towards sustainable development, all that means sustainable development for developing country, developed country, and underdeveloped country. All we have to engage the stakeholder for different activities, and with the support of them, we should improve, or we should going to be achieve the main and focus on the sustainable development goals. That is the main role. The stakeholder play a main role to achieving the goal in the target, that is Agenda 2030 of 2030. Due to the engaging of the stakeholder, we are going to achieve this goal. This is our hope.
Today we're going to talk about stakeholder engagement, some of the key considerations you need to think about as you move forward with engaging your stakeholders, and what you need to do in order to make it successful. My name is Anthony Taylor. I'm the managing partner at SME Strategy. We facilitate strategic planning sessions, and we help teams move their strategic planning processes forward through stakeholder engagement and implementation support. And today I want to talk to you about stakeholder engagement in 5 slides. So the first step in successful stakeholder engagement is identifying your stakeholders. Identify the different groups of people that are interested in what you're doing, that hold a stake in what you're doing, or who might be affected by any of the projects or programs that you're moving forward. So first, who are they? You might want to identify them in different subgroups. There might be, 5, 10, 15, 20 different subgroups, but the first step is really identifying who they are. The next step is identifying and prioritizing those stakeholder groups in terms of influence or interest. So some groups might have high interest, some groups might have low interest, some groups might have high influence or power, some groups might have low influence or power. If you don't have the opportunity to engage with all of your stakeholders, I highly recommend that you balance the ones with the most power and the most interest, and you use a stakeholder register in order to do that. So number 1, identify your stakeholders and classify them by influence and interest. Number 2, start having stakeholder engagement sessions so that you can listen to them. It's more important that you listen to them than they listen to you. Okay? The reason is they'll feel heard, and they'll feel like any decision that you've made, ideally, would have been made with their input. If they never get an opportunity to share any input, then they're going to feel slighted that they just didn't even have the opportunity to share. It's also an opportunity, once you listen to them, to be able to address their concerns and needs specifically within your plans. Okay? It's also going to help develop the buy-in for the direction of your organization or for your plan. And often, we've led a lot of these stakeholder engagement sessions, you're going to hear things from them that you might not have even thought of, or that they're going to present in a way that will shift your thinking in terms of how to get them to be bought in successfully. Okay, so they might have different perspectives, they might have different needs, they might have different wants that you assumed one thing, but when you actually heard it in their language, you're able to really narrow down and deliver what they need. So listening to them is the first step in engaging with them successfully. The next part, as I mentioned, is use their perspective, incorporate their ideas, let them know that their feedback is appreciated and valued, and then actually take their insights into consideration. If you don't use their perspectives, again, their perspectives are only perspectives, it's important that you close the loop on the communication they gave you. The worst thing that you can do is take their perspectives and don't provide some communication as a follow-up to close the loop. When taking their perspectives, whether it's questions, statements, or feedback, really be committed to create lasting buy-in and engagement through the process. So, how do you win with stakeholder engagement? Number one, identify your stakeholders. Who are they? What do they do? What do they care about? Do they have high influence? Do they have low influence? Do they have high interest or low interest? Prioritize your stakeholder groups like that, and you'll be more effective in segmenting them and being able to work with them successfully. Number two, listen to them, hear what they have to say, hear it in their own words, and make sure you understand their concerns before you make your plan so that you can be more successful. And third, use their perspectives, communicate back with them, make sure that they feel heard, make sure that they have buy-in, and make sure that they understand where you are coming from, and make sure they understand that you know where they're coming from. Even if you don't utilize all of their perspectives, being able to close the loop in terms of the communication, being able to close the loop with whatever they've said will help get them on board and bought in to what you're doing. And if you're still not sure how to move forward, or you think that it's more complex getting them engaged, or a lot of people just like having us as a third party to help ask those tough questions and you can participate instead of having to lead, reach out to us for a complimentary consultation. There's a link in the bio. We'd be happy to share some perspectives, create some sample agendas for you, and really work with you so that your stakeholders feel heard, you have change moving forward successfully, and ultimately your progress moves forward on your plan. Once again, my name is Anthony Taylor. This has been a video by SME Strategy. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe. Put some comments down below if you've had any successes or even failures with strategic planning and stakeholder engagement, and we're happy to engage in a conversation.
So the stakeholders, which are very much important, implement all the policies and all the to achieve all the goals. So here in sustainable development goals, to achieve the sustainable development goals, who is the stakeholder? So first identify of the stakeholder is very much necessary and engage the stakeholder in different activity in order to achieve the goal. So stakeholder groups to be engaged still very depending on local context. In all local people or local context to achieving the goal, stakeholders are identified and they should be engaged. So at international level, groups often engage include. That means these are the different stakeholders that are very much active part, take a necessary active part in order to achieve this sustainable development goal. So these stakeholders all are the common people, the government, all these organizations who are utilizing the environment. So all are utilizing the environment, particularly industry and government policies holder, policymaker, all these things. So apart from this, these are the different points are there. Non-governmental organizations, different NGOs are there. All women, all children, all youth, indigenous people. Indigenous means at the people, that means traditional people or traditional way they are living in the forest area or in a particular community. That are also stakeholders. They are also protecting environment. They are also workers of the trade union, business and industry. All persons which are mainly utilize clean water, air and environment, that are the stakeholders. The scientific and technological community who can contribute different technology to the protecting environment and towards sustainable development. Then all farmers who are farming in a different way, they also contribute in sustainable development. Then cooperatives, socially included minorities, socially excluded groups, including persons with disability, older person, or then migrants. If the migrants are also stakeholders, they are also moving here and there. But actually, what's happened? We are taking the name of the all other. So all human beings that are indirectly, directly having knowledge and utilizing the environment to contribute some parts in the sustainable development. All are stakeholders. So development partners, foundations, founders, or the social movement activities, professional from relevant sectors such as education, health, all doctors, teachers, all professors, all the things they are can help to take the sustainable development goals in a greater extent, because they all are taking some small role in this sustainable development, achieving the sustainable development goal. So if someone is not interested in this environment, there is no one is there. So everyone uses water and air, clean water, and want to use clean water and air, and having sustainable growth and having a good opportunity of job. All these things is needed. So everyone in the earth, or every human people, that also are a stakeholder of this sustainable development goal, who can just contribute something to achieving the targets or the goals of the 16th SDG that should be implemented within 2020-30. This is the agenda, or this is the global goal of the agenda 2000. So this agenda 2030, the stakeholder engagement, what is the different roles? First is the participatory progress of the SDG themselves would not only negotiation between member states, but incentive engagement with the stakeholder around the world. So here the United Nations are main country, or main participating country of the United Nations. They are not only the stakeholder, or they are not only the members who can working on this agenda or working on this sustainable development goals, because the living we the are irrespective of all nations, all countries, all peoples, all races, all other stakeholders, and we have to take account of all of them, and to understand what is the importance of this sustainable development. We should we should take training and awareness session also, and without any conflict, we have to include all these members as well as non-members. So all are the stakeholder of the sustainable development goals. Then 2030 agenda is therefore of the people, by the people, and for the people. So every common people is a stakeholder here, without any conditions, and without any member of his or not. So this agenda is applicable. This agenda is maintained. This agenda can be progress of the people. This is the agenda for the people, of the people, by the people, and all these things are because common people are the stakeholder of this sustainable development goals, or this environment, because environment is for all. So Mother Earth will also some role play in the this sustainable development activity, because nature itself heals. So healing nature of nature is the common practices, but due to this anthropogenic activity, the healing nature of Mother Earth, that is not in balance condition. So we have the duty of us, of common people, is the all people of the world, that we can manage. We have to care of the earth, and we have to care the environment, we have to care the climate, and also care for the sustainable development. That is development of the current generation without compromising the future generation. So we have to manage all these things. And for the calls of the participation of all countries, all stakeholders, and all people. So this 2030 agenda is for participate all these people of this country, all the whole world, all the total earth, whatever may be the country, whatever may be the state, whatever may be the region. So all people can be participate to achieve, or can be contribute to achieve the 2030 agenda or the 17 SDG. So this is very a great broad idea and a great theme we have to achieve, and we have to keep maintain the sustainable development in practices for a long period of time. It is not a short period of time; it's a long term goal. Stakeholder engagement is important in both implementation of the follow up. Only implementation is not adequate, but the follow up. If once the stakeholder are engaged, and once the some goals have to in keep practice, then follow up and keeping this practice is very much important. Initialization is not important. So all these things are very much related to the practices, the utilization of resources, and the behavior of the people, what is the mindset of people, and it also depends on the conflicts and inequalities, all these things. So apart from this, all people should come forward and take those necessary action to uh, achieve to help to achieve this goal. So contribution of all people is very much necessary. So outcome of the meaningful participation are very much required here, because increase understanding between the local government and the different stakeholder is one other priority, need and capacity. This government have spread awareness, government have spending some budget, have allocate some budget in order to move or in order to achieve this goal. So these things can be collaborate with the local people as well as different non-local or non-government organizations, and the priority is to understand all stakeholder mindset and all the determine all the needs and capacity of these countries in the local level. So this is very much necessary. Public participation is very much necessary. So increase awareness of ownership of the SDG. So who is the owner of SDG? Because the SDG are mainly mean by the well-being and quality life for the common people of all countries of all whole world. So the common people have the ownership of SDG. So in order to take the ownership, they can be work further and so lead to greater aggression and partnership and contribute more and more. And also implementation is very much enhanced due to the ownership transfer, or the peoples they think that this is for own, this is the quality life of the people. And so increase in sustainability programs and projects that also helping and taking the ownership of the SDG to the common people, that is very much helpful to accelerate this sustainable development goal, achieving the sustainable development goal. uh, the achieving in 2030 there is not final. You have to keep maintain this sustainable development in future practice also. So we are in the middle stage. We are going to implement the idea. We are to going to implement take necessary action in order to achieve the target. And after reaching the target, we have to maintain the target. Then creating spaces, structures, and dialogues, citizen engagement, empowerment, foster generation, and great comprehensive citizens. And so there are different structures, dialogue, and or things are also citizen engagement needed. The environment or local voices, local movement, or there are so. For example, different peoples they are having different movement against different projects like Chipko movement, Apko movement. All these movements are be there because the common people they are trying to protect environment, and because if some project is built, there is a trade-off between the positive and negative impact. So the different movements are arises in support of the environment, support to protect environment, biodiversity, all these things. So this is also very much necessary. Like that, the common people that can be involved in this SDG to find to contribute or to achieving the vision and mission of the SDG. So NGO the voice of the most vulnerable and hard affected the policies, because the policies and the government policies, government rules, we have to follow up this, and we should not oppose to this voice, because this is the government has made rule because to protect the nature and combat the climate change, all this to achieve the sustainable development goal. So common people are the real stakeholder, they can actively participate to achieve all these. So designing the stakeholder engagement strategy, because the common people who are they are not aware how to do plan and how to keep practicing, how to achieve the target, what is the target and what is the sustainable development goal. So the government officials, the organizations and the people, scientific people, they have a map, creating a roadmap or creating different engagement strategy of the common people by different activities. So, to meaningful engagement of process for the 2030 agenda or the SGD, they should set up a different objectives and methodology how to how common people are being attached to this, and how we can spread some the news what about sustainable development, how we can be doing practice. So this is they are having different strategy. Some key elements of stakeholder engagement strategy which should be adjusted local context are here we are written. So these are some methods we can engage the local people or the stakeholder in order to develop or in order to achieve the sustainable development goal. So first is define who should be engaged and make stakeholder. So first we have to decide who are the real stakeholder, who are working in which field, and who can be given time or who can be contribute something to our work. what activity, what task they have to be given, and how this can be engaged. The next point, then setting up specific communication and outreach strategy of different groups also there. So depend how to reach out the people, and how apart from this leisure time, apart from this job time, we have to engage the engagement from people or stakeholder or for different activities, and these are to clear to make a roadmap on that. So define expected outcome and outputs. So what may be the outcome? What is the target? Set up the small targets of these outcomes of the all activities. Then define activities undertaken a part of the stakeholder management process. So they have given small tasks and they have given ownership to take some actions. So we can be monitor these things and report all these things in a greater extent way. So the stakeholder are engaged in a effective manner, and the goal of the sustainable development they can achieve very well. So plan and mobilize the necessary resources. Then what resources we are using to, or what, because of funding is necessary, because of some constraints we are not utilizing our 100% effort to achieve the sustainable development goal. So we should make a note and plan the available resources wisely in order to achieve the goal, and set up a clear timeline. It is very much important. We have to set a target like that. 2030 is our timeline for or achieving this goal or 17th goal. So the target and timeline, which when where will we have to do this, very much important to make a target timeline and a clear timeline up to this. We have to achieve this thing. So for the local engagement strategy, the people we are giving small targets and small active timeline into and actively engage the stakeholder in order to achieve the sustainable development goal effectively. So this is the strategy of engagement of stakeholders.
In our deliberations, we need to focus on developing greater understanding of how to achieve balanced integration of the three dimensions of sustainable development: social, economic, and environment, and explore how the countries of our region are gearing their national development frameworks and priorities.
Implementation. I think it's a given that we have identified what are the challenges and the proposed way forward. What we're actually trying to improve is how you go about implementing it better and more effective. The other one is raising awareness, especially about the key stakeholders and the key roles they play.
Governments cannot do everything by themselves. And so because they can't do themselves, they have to engage the stakeholders, the other stakeholders, to look at issues and what is best. And then they should take into account the feedback of the stakeholders, but still realizing that they have the responsibility to all the citizens of the country for what happens.
As a scientist, you can empower policymakers to look at the facts, to identify new problems, to confirm existing problems, and then to start a process in society at large with other stakeholders and decision makers involved, by which through dialogue you start to form agreements to actually make the social choices that are necessary. And I emphasize here, this is about social choices and not individuals doing things differently.
If you are talking about sustainable development, it's about the person on the ground. And that's where civil society is connected, and it can really bring that.
Being investors, one just not need to take about profit, have to consider how to balance profit with social goods and environmental value.
The stakeholders must learn how to work together. And the most important thing of when you work together, it's collaboration rather than competition for the space. And I know it's difficult because our interests vary, but it's possible.
expression means. So we are working or we are saying that engagement of stakeholders. So actually, what does participation mean? What are the different levels of engagement? So there are four levels of engagement of stakeholders are there, that are inform, consult, involve, and collaborate. There's a different consultation or different level of engagement where all people or participate, they can be actively participate or get engaged in order to achieve the sustainable development goal. So let's discuss on that. First is inform. Inform is the communication where government inform stakeholder of their plans or implementation and review of the 2020 agenda. This is inform. So government had to inform all this agenda, 2030 agenda in details to the stakeholder and what is the implementation plan. This is the first step of the stakeholder engagement. The stakeholders are informed by different meetings, that different media or different activities or different workshop, seminar. All stakeholders should inform about details planning. This is inform. So this is the example we have given. In Maldives at the national level, the government works in the official state of public service in the media and disseminating different related to SDG. So in public media, or in government news, local news, or in different advertisement, government had to actively know and pass the information of this agenda to the common people or the stakeholders. So capacity building workshops are there organized, journalism of various media under enhance the develop their skill. So in order to implement on this scheme, there are three workshops are analyzed, capacity build workshops are organized. That's so the common people get aware about all these activities and how to implement this plan. They have to prepare themselves. So these are the things they are organized in Maldives. Likewise, all countries who are the parties, the member of society of United Nations, they are also having this type of information, giving passing information to the stakeholders. In its local report, effort achieve environmental sustainability target, Sydney, Australia also noted campaign to improve environmental outcome, informing stakeholder, so reducing the waste, about the how to reduce waste reduction, how to save water, how to not use plastic, and they are also inform the stakeholder, inform the public people through different social media, different poster, uh, different by different means, by advertisement in the television. All these things, the people are get aware about all this agenda, what is sustainable development, and through a different digital way also, digital sustainable newsletter and social media, all these things. The main thing is to pass out the total implementation plan and what is sustainable development and what is SDG, what is this agenda. This should be informed to common people, so which are the actual stakeholder about this plan. Is the consult. The consult present plan and option and for implementation and review of 2030 agenda or SDG, they have received feedback from stakeholders. Whenever we are informed first thing, then consult means we are bring back the feedback. We are asking for feedback. What should be the next step? Or if they are understand the plan of the government and what is the feedback from the stakeholder, we have to know them. So this consult is to taking a feedback regarding this 2030 agenda. This is called the stakeholder consult. So here example is Nogura district of Uganda. They have carried out a consultative meeting in the 5 lower level government and 350 participants like different NGO, IGO, youth, men, women, elder, all people present, WDP, WD, all these things. So they have having meeting and they have taken their feedback about their. So created focus group dimension, FGD, that is focus group discussion. That means the meeting they have discussed actively and focused what are the plan, how it can be implemented, and take feedback, will be positive or negative. But we have to analyze that one. So the key targeted group are women and youth. Mainly women and youth are the targeted group to collect their views and perception on development. If the development is necessary and how it is necessary and what are the steps that can be initiated towards sustainable development, because all having different perspectives. So the feedback is very much important. To analyze the feedback, to taking the feedback is called consultation phase. Further different communities and participation development processes. So the processes or development processes for the sustainable development or that is climate action or anything, the planning should be informed. Then it will be consult. The main consult is to take feedback whether it is how much it is utilized, how it is good or bad, what is the fees or cost that stakeholders perspectives. We know then it is the better work. Utilize the radio talk show, gather feedback from the community member. These are mainly focused in the example. But all countries should be used like that. They have to come, they have to ask for feedback and analyze the feedback for better result of implementing this. Then third point is involve. In stakeholder involvement is very much. The stakeholders are meaningfully engaged with government in generating plan and option implementation and review of 2000 agenda and carrying out the action based system emerging from it. So we are engage the stakeholder by different meanings for making the plans, making the strategy, and for decision making arrangement, what should be done or what will be different things. So these are can be made. This in actively involving a stakeholder is very much necessary. So involvement is the third step. Example is preparing some report to the Florida USA, the major appointed 25 community leader representative of this Orlando Business Institution, NGOs, and community workshop. This is an example where how the USA is making of some reports or some processing some value lyrics or these are the things how the actively the participation can be taken from the stakeholder. So the groups consider they have called 25 community leaders from all communities in order to participate or involve their suggestions, their decisions that also taken on account, and it will be actively participate in this group. So the strategy and priority of issues, all the things are noted down and identify the best practices and provide a new recommendation. All people's points are having suggestions are noted down, and among that we have to identify all new recommendations or good practices. So involvement of stakeholders is very much necessary because they are expert in their local point of view and how the implementation takes place of the SDG that can be better known than you, because the local people or local stakeholder they have better idea on that area or on that community. So following these processes, the working group constitutes also different implementation of the scenario. This is one example, and like this, all over the world, we can actively involve the participate in taking in decision making and making plan. So this involvement output is a good recommendation and best practices how to involve, how to carry out the plan, and in the activity involving this stakeholder is very much necessary to carry out the plan very much. Third thing is involved. Fourth thing is collaborate. So government and stakeholder decide together to work and for the implementation and review of the SDG 17 SDG, that is 2030 agenda, and this is long term and may require resources. At that last point is collaborate. Both government and the common people or stakeholder they have jointly working to achieve this 2030 agenda. In example, in 2030, the city of Ocasa, Mexico described its mechanism involving civil society, academia, and produce sectors SDG implementation and review. That is one example. In Mexico City, the stakeholders are like a civil society. I mean, different societies are there in different academia, different institute, different academic institutes, and different all sectors, NGO, IGO, all these sectors they have include and make a planning, and they have collaborate all the things. So they distributed the plan in different way to actively participate them and collaborate to achieve the sustainable development goal. So here some examples is there and how they can collaborate. First point is formation of 3 working committee considering 3 dimensions. What are the 3 dimensions? Social, environmental, economic. This is the main points or main pillars of the sustainable development. We cannot neglect anything. So these 3 committees are taking care of this social, environmental, economic aspect of sustainable development. So what is the progress that can be made on this way? That is very much essential. Then assurance of open call to identify stakeholder that wish to participate the work and committee work for the committee and follow the section of government actors to participate in it. So all stakeholders to be identified and they have to given chance to work in this field and make some contributed to the sustainable development goals, implementing this goal. So this is different selections of these different types of plans, and that can be decision that can be made both jointly, collaboratively, the government and the stakeholders. So creating a sharp leadership structure, each committee also needed. For each different committee, a strong leader should be needed, in which government agency serve executive secretary and non-stakeholders serve as annual rotating coordinator. So government official as well as public stakeholder are making a committee, and both are working in different sectors such as forestry, agroforestry, combating climate change, diversity restorations, biodiversity conservations, all the things where we are engaged, both government and as well as the non-government agencies or the different public people or local people that are residing in there as a coordinator. So with the input and responsibility of such creating meetings of the committee. So each member of this committee giving some responsibility, and this responsibility should be followed by them very effectively with the collaboration of both government and this private or the stakeholder. Because government has some fund, government has rules, government has power to implement with the help of the stakeholder. So without the collaboration, the SDG cannot be succeed. So this collaboration between government and stakeholder is very much necessary to carry out this agenda in a very successful manner.
Sustainable development of natural resources is vital in combating climate change and meeting the growing demands for water, food, energy, and the environment. The Future Dams Research Project has produced a guide to planning water, energy, food, and environment systems. Central to our approach is the belief that the best outcomes for meeting our future needs will be achieved through participatory stakeholder engagement. The Future Dams Guide takes you through a series of steps and principles for conducting stakeholder engagement in infrastructure planning and policy development. The guide outlines a 5-step process. Step 1. Identify the water, energy, food, and environmental needs for development. Step 2. Ask, what are the policies or infrastructures needed to meet those development objectives? Step 3. Convene a group from across society to conduct participatory modelling. This should include a diverse selection of those who might be positively or negatively affected by the policy and infrastructure options. Step 4. Run an iterative modelling process with the stakeholders, assessing different identified options, along with their benefits and impacts. Step 5. Present a recommended set of options. These steps are aspirational, setting out the best practice to aim for, and there are some important principles to make this approach successful. It is key to start with development needs, not an infrastructure project such as a dam. This could be the need for sustainable energy, food, or water. Stakeholder discussions need to be genuinely participatory, handing people real decision-making power, not just informing them. It also requires an effective facilitator who can ensure everyone in the room gets to speak and that one person or perspective doesn't dominate. This role isn't easy, but vital for creating holistic decision-making. It is also important that stakeholder discussions are representative, including the full range of communities and organisations affected. This may require training for participants to understand what is being discussed and what the modelling process does. The Future Dams Guide discusses these challenges and how they might be overcome. Overall, we believe the guide's 5-step process has the potential to create the most rigorous, just, and sustainable development planning and computer modelling. The end result will be clear recommendations that aim to maximise the benefits while minimising negative impacts. To find out more, please download the guide online.
next, we have to discuss about sustainable development and different policies and what are the measures. So, this is the very much important because in order to achieve the 2030 agenda or 17 SDG, the sustainable development policies and measures should be implemented with the help of the stakeholders. So, what should be the policies and what are the implementation to be measures that are going to discuss here. So, let's move. There is a different concept of SDG that is called Sustainable Development Policy and Measures, that is called SDPAM, that is Sustainable Development Policies and Measures. And this SDPAM that are very much important for sustainable development. So back the cost from the desired future state government and as greenhouse gases reduction, or that is very much essential to mapping of these greenhouse gases, all the things. So SDPAM are so in order to map all these things for the future as well as the past future. So define the most sustainable path, meet the government objectives. These are the main concept of developing the sustainable development policy measurement and measures. And primary motivation of developing countries is economic growth, development, and job creation and poverty eradication. Obviously, this is the most common agenda for the developing nations or developing countries, because they have struggling to their, not for the environment, they are struggling to their economic growth, there are poverty, there are hunger, and there are inequalities, there for all these things. So this is the primary motivation is the government or the sustainable development policy and measure as the PAMS that are helping these developing country in these ways. So how to capture the measure of the potential SDO benefits under the Convention of Developing Countries. This is also the main concept to create these policies and measurement. And need of a new strategy approaches to capture the potential under the multilateral framework, that SDPM is also possible in such approaches. So overall, these policies and measures are capable for measuring all these activities, all these benefits, how this will progress, and it helps to identify different levels and to help to progress in a development of the in a good manner, and what, and this can be mostly benefited to the developing country where they are struggling with their finance, their job, and their quality of life, and their development things is going on. So this is benefit under these policies all to the stakeholder as well as the government. Making policies is a very much important thing. So this need a very specific approaches how to these sustainable development policies should be prepared and implemented in a particular country. So there are different methods to implement, and these concepts are there. So let's discuss one by one. So on the basis of this policies and measure, there are two articles that have been written. That is, such a level should be, Article 2 refers that such a level should be achieved with a time frame sufficient to allow ecosystem to adapt naturally to climate change, ensure that food production is not threatened, and enable to economic development too, and process in a sustainable manner. This Article 2 written that this is the basics of the sustainable development policies and measures. So we are making the policies and measure in order to achieve the goals in a real time frame or sufficient time, or having an adequate natural to the climate change. Climate change do not changing the climate in artificial way or in our anthropogenic activity. So naturally the climate can be altered. That is the main thing. And to ensure food production and sustainable development is also very much funding to this food production and for the growing people and the next generation, and also not threaten the economic development. Simultaneously, it does not make it constant to the development of this country, and both all the economic development and the environmental development all are going simultaneously in a sustainable manner. It is a long-term goal. And principle of Article 3.4 said that the parties have to be right and should be promote sustainable development. So all parties, that means all government as well all stakeholder, all NGOs, all these people, they have to spread the awareness and participating toward the sustainable development goals to make the earth goals sustainable. So this is very much necessary that the policies and sustainable development policies and measure to be implemented in order to create or in order to achieve our sustainable development with the help of the all stakeholders and participation of the government. Then in our India, Delhi Ministerial Declarations of Climate Change and Sustainable Development are also going to be written. Some they are working in also towards sustainable development and making some policies. For example, it is really outlined the importance of linking climate change and sustainable development in both directions. That means climate change and sustainable development both are very much combat the climate change and sustainable development both are very much necessary. So mitigation measures should be integrated. What are the steps that can be implemented to grow toward sustainable development? So integrated with this national and development program, taking in account the economic development, and it is essential to adopting measures to address the climate change. This is very much important. So, and national sustainable development strategy should integrate more fully climate change objectives and the key areas such as water, energy, health, agriculture, biodiversity. Because all these essential things are water, energy, and health, sanitation facilities, agriculture, biodiversity, conservation of biodiversity, conservation of forest, and there's also help to combat the climate change. So these all essential, they are all essential parts, and these are mainly on the basis of sustainable development policies and measures, because these policies and measures they help regarding all these sectors that is integrated with national development program. I mean, whatever the program that are running in our country that are in line with this sustainable development and in line or along with this environment. So not the cost of the environment. So whenever you are utilizing some resources from environment, and that is the basis of we are utilizing the SDPMs or sustainable development measures, then the progress in both ways is very good. The climate change also reduces and the sustainable development also reduces, with not compromise with any other resources of the earth. So this is very much required to sustainable development policy measure to be implemented. So there are different approaches to implement this sustainable development policy measure that included new approaches needed to effectively capture the benefit of the local sustainable development and developing countries. Because developing countries and what's the difference between developing country and underdeveloped countries or developed countries, that is they are already developed countries has already passed through the phases which are going to be now in developing and undeveloped countries. So the developing country have the responsibility to carry out different approaches and different measures and funding some budgets toward the implementation of the sustainable development goals. And the developing country and the underdeveloped country, they are not enough qualify or not having enough capacity to cope with that, because if they are now in developing stage, so they have to go more. So this is very much important strategy approaches to build on existing commitment. So what are the commitment that have to make or small point or small target that can be combined to achieve the large target of the SDG? Then give greater recognition to be taken by developing countries. Already I have told that the initiation and recognition that has been taken by developing countries, because they are already developed and they are already passed through the phases where developing countries are going to be happen or going to be passed through. So the duty of the developing country is to take care of this SDG in a greater way. Then a commitment of implement of sustainable development policies are also required, that is not based on climate change target, but choosing the development path results in a lower emissions. This greenhouse emissions, cut down the greenhouse emissions, that is very much important. The lowering the carbon footprint that reduces the climate changes. All things are not 100% working in developing country, and the sustainable development policies are not strict currently. Because if you are strict on these rules and regulations of making some policy that are full favor of environment, and our development process are stopped. So if development will stop, then other developing countries are facing different challenges. So not to stop anything, but to reduce that thing in a lower the emission, we can simultaneously go through these developing countries and on to the developed country. So without compromising any environmental impact or any other thing. So next is large scale policies and measures, programs or work project. So for this, the developing countries, they are working the project, and the financing and budget should be held by the developed country, and the World Bank and other stakeholders are engaged in order to uh, uh, work on this sustainable policies and measure effectively. Then formalize this, please, that means we have to please that we have to work in a effective manner and do not corrupt manner, and we have to achieve the target up to that. So we can effectively work. If you are pleased something, then we are effectively work with full dedication to our uh, our efficiency, or with full efficiency or full capacity, we can be working on that. So in this case, could be a fees, a list of countries, could be a register please policies or program. So there are different policies and countries, they have to please themselves in order to actively participate in the in the sustainable development goal, to achieve the sustainable development goals. And this, for this, there are different countries, they have be and please and according to the policies of the sustainable development goals. So it is necessary for this formalize the please also to accelerate the goals in an effective manner. Then establishment methodologies for qualifying benefits of sustainable development, that is both climate change and sustainable development. It is necessary to implement all this methodology in an effective manner, and for this we have to identify and qualifying the which SDPMs or policy measures should be very much effective for both sustainable development and climate change, because there are 17 goals are there, or for 17 goals the climate change or climate action, that is most important goals, and this goal could take long time to very much long time to uh, means achieve the goals. So in order to achieve this goal, we should work this effectively with this by these approaches, or making these policies and making a great good policies and good approaches towards this climate change. So this is one example of sustainable development in South Africa, how these sustainable development policies and measures are effectively working in South Africa. First, developing objectives, that is removing backlog of 2.6 million households. There are small houses, they are underdeveloped, so they are remove their houses from their original places. And current policy, what is the current policy? Annually build 3 lakhs low cost houses. In order to remove all these small and you build small houses that cost 3 that is also target is 3 lakh low cost houses that can be sustainable in nature. So next is possible shift to more sustainable development path. So how to build this one? All new houses. This is the example in case of South Africa, where you can use sustainability build sustainable houses. So new houses built with a range of energy efficient investment. So here we have to use different invention and different methodology, science, technology in order to make sustainable. For example, insulation, ceilings, orientation, window size, all are to be planned effectively. Barrier or pressure subsidy, or also different codes. So color codes are there. This house is sustainable or not. This where is this window is placed, and this cost is only 2,000 real, that is household cost per house or per year. So this is very much high for this for this South Africa, but this is sustainable. This can be passed to sustainable. So this budget can be held by the developing country, or developed country, and this once this house are built, then this is the effectively working on this environment and climate change benefits. So what are the local benefits? Energy saving of the household. What were previously the house is utilizing energy, now it is having its own solar panels or own energy generation system, so it can save the household energy. Increase thermal comfort if they are making insulation and ceilings. So in South Africa it is a very hot country, so they have having cool down the do not utilize any energy to cool down the home. So it is very also effective working effective. Reduce indoor air pollution. If the windows and doors are placed in such a direction that the indoor air quality is also very good, the air can be flow properly and it can be utilize natural things and cannot utilize without utilize energy. The house can be remain cool and remain warm at the time required, and air pollution is effectively and energy also effectively produced in that house. So there is a initially some fund and cost is there, but after that it can be done for a long time and sustainable way. We can help to achieve the sustainable development. This is a small example of sustainable development measures, because this type of measure of for policies and measures should be required in every country. So the continuous in developing country it is very much required, but and the developed countries they are going to help in terms of technology, in terms of technology and finance, achieving or to implementing the SDGs in developing countries. So potential greenhouse emission also reduced due to this effort, because the climate change is mainly responsible due to this greenhouse emission. So we can reduce the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide very much in order to save the environment and in order to combat the climate. So possible approaches to formalizing these policies and measures, there are multilateral system. One is the country outline, features development, objectives, identify PA policy measures to make development more sustainable, please to implement policies, sustainable development, then register formal recognition of action, that is name of the country, and make a list, that is policy measure which are the registry, maintain the secretariat, allow country to decide whether register or not, report or not. So each country having its own type of register, own type of policies and measure that can be ultimately serve the goal for the climate change or combat the climate change or for the climate action. So these policies measures that are very much necessary for implementing this policy towards going achieving towards the goals of the SDG or 2030. The implement reports are also required. Implement of SDPM, monitor implementation. There is national capacity, monitor critical. That means different policies and measurement and that how they are implemented. We have to regularly monitor, regularly implement, regularly auditing, so that it will be very much necessary to monitor the progress. Then regular reporting of implementation is required. Would be the part of the national community. Separate reporting perhaps preferable, but whenever you are going to monitor or going to response or going to register such things, that the along that is different for different countries, different according to the policy measure. So the methods should be different. So primary reporting, sustainable development units also qualify greenhouse gases co-benefits, common metrics, and review progresses and further recognition. All these are the 10 stages for the sustainable development policies implementation and recognition that can be helped with the people and the engagement of the stakeholder as well as engagement of this implement of these sustainable development policies and measure in a great extent to achieve this our target of 2030 agenda. So measure policy and measure and post in 2012. That means how there are different policy and measures to be implemented in different countries, or that is also very much important. So this policy and measure approaches is complementary and different from existing target-based greenhouse gas reduction measures. So how greenhouse gases can be reduced, that will be we should make different policies and measures that will be help to reducing the carbon footprint. It will be important to mobilizing developing country action, that is turn climate from the threat into genuine opportunity to development sustainable all developing country. So in order to move the developing country, we have to making these policy measure to remove the threats of the climate change. So in order to working on that, we have to mobilize the developing country or focusing on developing country now, because developing country are the most emitted carbon dioxide emitters or greenhouse gas emitters. So we are implementing on this. Only requires a decision by the COP or conferences of the parties that are not a whole new protocol, because all conferences, this agenda are already discussed. Measuring and reporting of climate co-benefit of this policy measure could be enable trust building under the convention. So every convention, every conferences, seminars or summit, we have to measure what and report what are the co-benefits we are achieving with the help of this policy measure. So that policy measure can be implemented in different countries according to their needs. So one possible package of policy measure is implementing through technology enabled by finance and balance by adaptation. See, obviously, this is without can be possible without the help of technology and finance. But we have to require budget and technology and balance adaptation, because development and this sustainable development and the climate action, that are both are necessary. So by balancing these things, we can go or we can move forward to achieve. This is all about the sustainable development things and sustainable development practices. What is the sustainability? What are different sustainable development goals? Sustainable development agenda. So please go through the slides and please read carefully. Then thank you very much for attending. Thank you for listening this actively.